So ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to be titled Thank You. And the thank you that I want to give, first of all, is to the people who watched my previous video on this topic and did it with an open mind. I understand that it's very easy to jump on the bandwagon. Your favorite streamer and your favorite YouTuber just came out with a video on this, and they're criticizing and they're chastising Vince McMahon as though he's evil, even putting that in the title. I mean, how on the nose can you be? Jumping out on a hot topic for clicks and views and sensationalism. The fact that you bucked the trend enough to question that and be skeptical and come to a video with a title that was in direct opposition called Vince McMahon is Not Evil and give me the time of day, a small channel from a content creator that you don't know, I appreciate it. Thank you. Because the majority of the feedback, the likes, and the comments were in favor of what I had to say. You took the time to listen and you agreed because my point, it's a very solid one. Most people, they are very empathetic, but there comes a time where their empathy is put to the breaking point. That breaking point is when you get your head shat on, allegedly, and you stay. You come to work the next day. I don't know about you, but no amount of duress in the world is going to make me, compel me, force me to go into work the next day after my boss, whether they be a man or a woman, shat on my head. The sex toy stories, I think that's comical, but that's not really, that whole story just seemed like nothing. Oh, he wasn't very good with sex toys, and he named them, and so Moist Critical names his sex toys. Moist Critical proudly walks out, and yeah, this is my Moby Huge. So, understand, my position on this, it confuses some people. Because they don't treat women as human beings. The way they treat women is the way that you would see in like a medieval play, where the knight is riding in on a steed and he sees the damsel and goes, "Milady, I see that you are in need of some help. Please allow me to ride with you for your protection to the nearest town. There are deviants afoot." It's a comedy. It's a parody. I treat women as human beings with agency. You apparently think women are so stupid and so weak that they can't possibly look at Vince McMahon and come to the conclusion, this is the best financial option for me at the moment. Vince McMahon is rich. He's powerful. This is a prestigious thing. I'm going to do it. I am going to have sex with this man. I'm going to be his mistress in exchange for gifts and for cash. Now, my explanation explains this whole situation perfectly. That this woman was consensual in everything up until the point where he stopped paying. And if you want to tell me that Vince McMahon was giving a girl to another person like Johnny Ace, I reject that in its entirety because it makes no goddamn sense. Because at any point, this woman could have got up and left. And if she didn't, if, for example, Johnny Ace threw her on the ground and he just forced her against her will. The moment that happens, you go immediately to the police. Or maybe you say, well, maybe she couldn't go to the police. Okay, then you put something in place to record a conversation. You get evidence. You would do anything you could to get out of that situation, but she didn't do that for years. And so you expect me to believe that women are just these poor, innocent creatures. And Vince McMahon is this terrible guy, and they were passing around women. Yeah, the terminology of that doesn't sound good, but that's not what happened. A woman had a choice. She chose. She chose to stay. And if the bitter taste of that is unpalatable to you, if you are somebody that thinks that women don't have the agency to choose, I'm sorry, but we're never going to agree. The onus is on her because it's her body, it's her choice. What she chooses to do is up to her. Now, if there's a sleazy guy, the way that people are acting is, well, the guy shouldn't be sleazy. No, wrong. If the guy oversteps the line and he approaches, he's a sleazebag, he's terrible, he crosses the line, you either leave or you call the cops. You leave or you call the cops. If there's a sleazebag and he makes a proposition to you and you take it and you're getting money and you're doing all the things consensually, he asks you to do something, maybe you're not comfortable with it, you do it anyway, and then afterwards you feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You consented to do it. And the only reason that we're talking about this is because Vince McMahon chose to stop paying this woman. That is the only reason. And so I am not going to condemn a man that has done so much good in this world. And I know that we are living in a generation of useless imbeciles that have never done good for anyone in their life, including themselves. Definitely not their families. A group of worthless, basically inattentive dorks. People who are incapable of holding an attention span past 15 seconds. We're dealing with a generation of those people who are trying to cast judgment on somebody like Vince McMahon, who has had a work ethic that these people, if you lined up 1,000 of them, couldn't match. A man who worked 23 hours a day. They talked about Vince McMahon got like 2 hours to sleep. Every day it was, how can we make the wrestling show better? How can we improve this? What can we do for this? Going to the gym. You know, all this talk about, like Vince had all this free time to be, messing around. He was working the whole goddamn time. Everyone talks about Vince being a worker. Even the people that don't like him, like CM Punk, talked about Vince is always working. He's always working. And then you take into account the tribute to the troops, take into account the Make-A-Wish stuff, all the good that Vince McMahon has done to make people's careers, to bring larger-than-life heroes to the world like Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man. You wouldn't have a lot of these people if not for Vince McMahon and the WWF. So, I am asked to sit here and condemn a man based on a consensual relationship. I'm asked to condemn that man and call him evil. That he's scum or whatever other adjectives people like Moist Critical want to come up with to make him seem like he's some pustule. The man has done more good for this world than Moist Critical or I combined. Than Moist Critical's entire audience combined. Than Moist Critical and my audience combined. And so, to say that man is evil, considering all the good he's done, because he was in a relationship that Moist Critical finds icky. He finds gross. Fine. Vince McMahon was a powerful guy. Women were throwing themselves at him. This idea that a billionaire who's rich and famous, that they have to force themselves on women. It's so ridiculous. Vince McMahon was palling around with supermodels. With women who would do anything for that type of attention and clout from a high-value man like Vince. And you're telling me that you think he has to be forced to do that? It's so astonishing to me that people hold this position, that women almost can't be manipulative. Women almost can't, they can't be opportunists. No, it's got to be that the guy is the bad guy. And my answer to that is no. My answer to that is actually more than no. My answer to that is you're pathetic. Because you are. Because you don't treat women in the way that you would treat a man. You don't, as evidenced by the fact that you rushed to judgment on Vince McMahon. Now, I don't know if it's because he's a billionaire or he's white or whatever, but you rushed to judgment. You wanted this woman to be this poor innocent victim that you could help defend. And I'm not about that. I've never understood that. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want about this topic. I'm not here to tell you that you have to believe what I'm believing or you're a bad person. I'm sure people have, valid reasons. But what I am here to say is that to ignore the good that Vince McMahon has done in a situation like this that's tenuous at best, and then to obliterate all that good and just to call him evil because of these circumstances. Well, I just know he's bad. It's like Most Critical talking about this. The way he talks about Vince McMahon is like I'm watching a kid talk about Vince McMahon, the character. Like kayfabe Vince McMahon. If you've listened to Jim Cornette or Dutch Mantel or any of these other people that have known Vince, their stories are very similar. That Vince, well, first of all, that Vince is like a clean freak. Vince is not like a guy that would shit on anyone or piss on anyone. Vince, from what I've heard, he's sort of like one of those guys that are almost like a germaphobe, a little bit. Sort of like, I don't really want to shake your hand because you might get me sick. That's, from the stories of Vince McMahon I've heard, that's what it's been, is that he's not at all like he's portrayed in these court filings. As you would expect from a woman trying to make him seem as unhinged and terrible and evil as possible to make herself seem like a victim so she can get more money. But this is what we live in today, where a man is guilty until he can prove himself innocent, that content creators, vultures, will come out and say that a person is evil. But I asked this question in my previous video, and nobody answered it. I think it's fair to say, and somebody can feel free to prove me wrong if they like, Asmongold. Apparently he has a new girlfriend. I didn't realize it was the super attractive, big-tittied Asian girl that appeared on stream. That's his girlfriend. Now, understand, I'm not saying this to insult Asmongold, but there is no shot in hell that guy pulls a girl like that without the money, without the fame, without the success, without everything that he's built up. If he were just Asmongold, the guy with that body, living in that house, playing World of Warcraft all day, there is not a chance in hell. So, I ask you, is Asmon abusing his riches and power and authority to bring in a girl like that who otherwise wouldn't choose him? The answer is, of course, no. Well, it's actually yes, but it's also no. He's using that, of course, but he's not abusing it. Because he earned it. Vince McMahon earned it. Vince McMahon wasn't handed anything. Vince McMahon built up his media empire over decades, he earned his status. His dad was a big time guy, but not anywhere near Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So Vince earned his status, he earned his money, he earned his position, and then you expect him when women are basically throwing themselves at him, but even when he pursues a girl, they obviously go with him, that he shouldn't do it? Because what? Because it's not nice. It's like I'm looking at the situation and I'm trying to find where your position comes from that Vince is evil. Because nothing in that court filing, even if I were to grant you that it's true, is illegal. Nothing in that court filing is any of my business, to be honest. It's none of your business either. Two consenting adults. And that's exactly what that was. Because at the end of the day, if Vince asked her to do anything, she could have left. And this is something else I want to mention before I go. The idea that Vince McMahon would be hyper obsessed on one woman, maybe it's sort of like a fling. But you're talking about a guy that was surrounded by the most attractive women in the world. This gets into like the territory of the E. Jean Carroll, where she's an ugly woman, and Trump is surrounded by supermodels, and you think the man is so goddamn horny and hard up that he has to go for like the bottom of the barrel? That's why when you add all of this stuff up, it just doesn't make sense. Why would Vince McMahon need to hyper focus on one woman to the point of forcing her to do anything? He had access to supermodels that you or I could only dream of. I think Asmongold's new girlfriend is super hot. But she wouldn't even rank. She wouldn't even be on the metric of the type of women that Vince McMahon brings in. So, I don't believe it. I don't believe the story. I think it's concocted. I think it's sensationalized. I think this woman wants money because I'm able to treat women as human beings who are capable of taking a look at an opportunity and making a decision that they think is going to benefit them and extracting resources from a high-value, influential man. It really is that simple. This woman was not poor. She didn't work in, like, the concession stand. Vince McMahon met her because she was a neighbor in his penthouse. So she had, like, the penthouse across the way. This is a woman of means, a woman who had money from the beginning, and she wanted more. She wanted to live in the lifestyle she was accustomed. So she hooked up with Vince McMahon. And it was great while she was getting gifts. But then all of a sudden, Vince stopped paying. And then you got to destroy a man. Because that's the world we live in today. And a bunch of losers online are going to rage about it, complain about it, get mad at me for talking about it. That's the world we live in today. Anyway, I want to say thank you to Vince McMahon for so many childhood memories, for so many great moments. It's the impact he's had on my life and the life of so many other people. It cannot be understated. So, on that note, I will bid you guys a good day, and I will see you next time.